This is video taken by my friend Colin in the village of Oresh after I'd left. Now his house is on the opposite side of the main road to where these fires are, and the temperature this day had reached 42 degrees or more, and the fires were fairly spontaneous. As you may imagine, wildfires happen in hot countries. Now Colin had the option to fly his drone over to where the fire was, but it wasn't performing very well. It was overheating on this rather hot day, and so he had to wait until after the fire. As I said, the fire's on the opposite side of the village to where Colin's house is, but it got within 20 metres of my house before it turned down towards Svishtov. The fire not only brought half a dozen fire engines into the area, but it attracted the national press as well, and they came along doing interviews. By the following day it was safe to go into the area that had been burning, and the drone did in fact fly over the area, so thanks to Colin for these pictures of the aftermath of the Oresh fires. Back now to the logistics of my trip this time, and we used to fly from Liverpool to Varna, but that route closed last year, and then we'd drive to Svishtov. But I think if you look at the map you'll see there's an even nearer airport up there in Romania. So I flew in from Liverpool to Bucharest, and because it was a late flight and also it was delayed by several hours, it was after 4 o'clock in the morning when I got into the centre of Bucharest. So there's the hotel I stayed in, and here's a view from the hotel entrance looking back across the road towards the railway station. You can see how close it is, and from there I was going to get my train down into Bulgaria. This is my train. It's a one-carriage train. I thought they were just shunting an extra coach into the station. You see a guy waving a flag, he's signalling to the driver, because when you back a train onto the platform, the driver can't actually see when he's reached the buffers. So the guy with the flag is signalling him, and then as he approaches the correct point, he blows his whistle. There seem to be a couple of whistle signals that he can do as well, and he waves the appropriate flag signals. So the train is parked in position, and I was able to get on and start the journey across the river Danube. So let me start with the most scary part of this journey. I walked to the back of the train, or rather the coach, to take some pictures of the railway and the bridge over the Danube, and I found that the door on my left wasn't a door. There's nothing there. There's the push buttons to open and close it, but nothing at all. A couple of grab rails. I did actually probably get better shots with not having any glass in the way, but I was hanging on for dear life. I had one hand on that grab rail and the other hand holding the camera, trying to film where we were going and where we'd been, because I could also look out the back of the train. So we're now on the bridge over the Danube, and if you're wondering where the road traffic has gone, you may have seen that a short while back, it's now on top of us. The roadway has gone over the top of our bridge, and we're on a double-decker bridge obviously. There's all these wagons thundering along up top. We can't hear them, can't feel them, but that's where they are. So here it is, the rather wide River Danube at this point. As you probably know, if you've ever been on a Danube cruise, it comes a long way before it even gets here. Oh, and this is just a quick look to my right, where there is a door on the other side of the train, just to reassure you. I'm still thinking the pictures look better through the open doorway. We're halfway across, which means we are leaving Romania and we're heading into Bulgaria sometime about now. They can't actually draw a line down the middle of the river, of course, so yeah, we have to guess where it is. And so we've made the journey across the River Danube from Romania to Bulgaria, and as we come across onto land, the roadway from above our heads starts to come down alongside us, and you can see how busy the road traffic is as well. And they, of course, all have to stop and pay a toll as they leave. It suddenly goes dark and quiet. Well, this is Ruse railway station. I've never seen such a dark place. It seems to have some nice architecture, but compared to the hustle and bustle of Bucharest, it's like a morgue in here. Still, at least it was nice and cool. Now out into the sunshine again.
Well, behind me is Ruse railway station, that big building. I'm not standing doing this right outside the station because there's two rather large Alsatian type dogs there. And although they seem fairly docile, I'm sure if I stood there long enough and talked, they'd think I was talking to them and come up to me. Yeah, well, not going to find out how fierce they are. I've walked past them from the train, and that's all I'm doing for now. I'm going to get a bus. It's very easy to get a bus here. You just walk out of the station to where I am now. And up there's some steps going into the bus station. So a quick swivel round, then the stairs to the bus station are behind me. So adjoining transport and interchange, if you like, that's what we'd call it at home. And I can get a bus here to a number of places. I've looked at the departures. It's all in the Cyrillic alphabet, but I've got to recognise some of them over the years. So I can tell that there's a bus going to Varna, Bafa I think it's called in Cyrillic, and there was one going to Bucharesti, which is of course Romanian anyway, and so like the English word for it. There's one going to Svishtov, and I'm not going to try and say that in Bulgarian, but I recognise it because I've been there so many times. I'm sure they go to VT and lots of other places. Sofia, they've got to go to Sofia. So I'm going to go and get a bus from just up those steps.
Well, the railway station had absolutely no catering facilities at all, not even a vending machine, but luckily there was plenty to eat and drink at the bus station. Well, you know I got a bus from Ruse to Svishtov. You know I spent a week or so in the area looking at my house in Oresh and so on. So here's the journey back. And as I said last time, the house I stayed in is right opposite the bus station. It's a new bus station since I was last here. The old one hasn't been taken over yet, but I gather it's going to be some kind of a car showroom or sales area. The new bus station is extremely smart. They look as though they're building a cafe in there. You can buy tickets for the buses here, and one of the girls speaks English, so it was a nice experience, as was the journey in a beautiful air-conditioned minibus that took me back to Ruse. And as you leave Svishtov, it starts to climb along the edge of the Danube on the journey back. All very pleasant. So this is the platform at Ruse railway station, where I met some Australians who'd been mountaineering both in Bulgaria and Romania, hence they were doing the border crossing too, and they were intrigued with my pocket camera, so they had to have a go of it.
Delete the files afterwards.
Oh yeah, I've got you now.
Yeah, and you might be able to see a little counter running at the bottom of the screen.
Can do, yeah.
So that shows you how good it is.
Makes a change for someone to be filming me, I suppose. We waited on the platform here for quite a while the customs dealt with our passports, but eventually we headed back towards Bucharest. After a long and very hot day travelling from Svishtov through Ruse and up to Bucharest, the first thing I wanted to do on arrival was cool down and get something to eat. This air-conditioned pub was a wonderful place. The food was very cheap and very high quality. There was something nuts about the place. First I thought it was sawdust on the floor. Then I headed back to my hotel, on the way stopping at a shop to buy a couple of litres of water. Not that shop, the one next door. Next morning, when I pulled back the curtains in my hotel room, I found I had quite a good view across the city, and then I headed up towards the station with a few hours to spare so I could take a look at my surroundings. A lot of nice tall trees here to keep cool under. They have trolley buses and trams here, and overlooking the park where I ended up sitting, it looks like the headquarters of the Bank of Transylvania.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching. I'm sitting in a little park in Bucharest, Romania. It's right by the railway station, and I'm just plucking up the courage to dive into an extremely busy station and get a train up to the airport. I've been in Bulgaria, but I've come via Bucharest to see how it panned out, basically. What you do is you fly in here, you get a train down to Ruse in Bulgaria, and you have to go through Romanian customs on the way, and then Bulgarian customs once you cross the river Danube. Same on the way back, and a 3-hour train journey ends up being 4.5 hours on average, with all the border control that come on the train and spend their time looking at your passports. And in fact at Ruse they take them away and presumably scan them somewhere. So that's quite a thing. The reason my head keeps twitching is because things fly past my ear, and I have had one fly in my ear, so I'm trying to avoid that by flicking it away. Yeah, I know, it looks strange, like I'm affected. Well, this heat here, we must be going nearer 40 degrees today. This heat is enough to affect me. I wasn't feeling particularly great yesterday, travelling on a train with no air conditioning in these temperatures and being stuck on it for nearly 5 hours. Never mind. So that's my little thing here from Bucharest. I have taken a couple of shots of the video around and about the place, and I'll no doubt manage to run the camera as I walk into the station, although don't know what you'll get, because I'll probably get swamped by people, may even get bowled over. That could make an even better video. So I'm getting the train now to the airport. Enjoy our videos.
Tickets in my sweatshirt pocket, one for me and one for Hackett. Going down from the riverside, we're gonna watch the game in the name of cricket. The road is long and the days are short, we all go along with the same old song. I wanna feel the rain and fall. Let's go to the road to sing a song. Let's go to the road to sing a song. Let's go
Well, it's time to fight my way through these crowds to get to the platform where the airport train goes. I've been watching this bloke going around filming trains, and he's got a big camera and a tripod and a young female assistant. I'm just wondering if I'm doing it wrong. Anyway, I think he's headed for the same platform as me.
I got 2 tickets in my sweatshirt pocket, one for me and one for Hackett. Going down from the riverside, we're gonna watch the game in the name of cricket. The road is long and the days are short. We all go on with the same old song. I wanna feel the rain and fall. Let's go to the road to sing the song. Let's go to the road to sing the song. Let's go to the road to sing the song.
You know the song because I keep referring to it, Trains and Boats and Planes. Well, easy for me to find trains. I found some here at Bolton Abbey. Going to take a little ride on this train and have a look at some of the countryside around here. The boats, they're easy too. I'm going to go down to Shipley, which isn't that far from here, and I'm going to have a walk along the, I think it's the river there. Is it the River Aire or the River Wharf? I think it's the Aire actually. And planes, I don't know. I go a lot of places on planes, and and yet somehow the opportunity doesn't present itself to film planes, except from the inside, which nobody wants to see anyway. Maybe I'll find some planes to film. Where's the nearest air museum?
Well, I'm enthusiastic about garden railways, so I was pleased to see these models of locomotives which ran on the Skipton to Ilkley branch in a cabinet in the railway station here. A pity they weren't out on an actual garden railway, but it was nice to be able to see them. I arrived at Bolton Abbey station before the first train was due out, so I had a coffee in the cafe. After a brief look round the rolling stock and other features at the station, I was pleased to see, or rather hear, the locomotive arriving on the platform, and unusually for a steam railway, I wasn't crowded out when I was trying to take my video. I've travelled on these type of coaches before, and you might guess where if you look at the legend on the side of the coach. It was on the West Coast Main Line that I travelled in one of these carriages and went from Crewe to Carlisle. Again, that was steam hauled. So with the engine all hooked up, we're ready to go on to Emsay. I bought myself a ticket in the ticket office a little earlier, and they'd run out of every type of ticket except a family ticket. Don't worry, I only paid for me as a concession, but I did get a family ticket as a souvenir. I can see now that Bolton Abbey is the quietest of the stations. Most of the people who wanted to travel on this train had turned up at Emsay, and that's quite near Skipton, so that's probably the reason for that. There's quite a bit of rolling stock lying around here in the yards at Emsay, and I think there may be a couple of projects. I'm guessing it's the sheds here where they do all their restoration work. Okay, I'm travelling back towards Bolton Abbey now, and if my carriage looks a bit empty, you should see the two at the other end of the train where the dining cars are. Lots of people are booked to get fed and watered on this trip, and they look like they've got quite a good spread on their tables. I deliberately left this table lamp in the shot because I think it's a nice feature, and it doesn't stop you seeing what's passing by outside.
Well, here at Bolton Abbey station, I've had a bit of a memory from the past, but unfortunately not that long in the past. The trains over there behind me haven't long been out of service on the Northern Rail network. They were absolutely dreadful, horrible old things to travel on. Once heard a southerner who'd travelled up and got to have to change onto one of these as like travelling in a cattle truck. I don't suppose he really knew what it was like to travel in a cattle truck, but nevertheless, that's what they were like, and they were made cheaply. Apparently these trains were based on the Leyland bus, which was built in the 60s to save money, and they thought, oh, that works, we'll have one of these on a train as well. And that's kind of the result, only buses were better than this, I would believe. Anyway, thank God, they're now out of service. They tried to stop them using them for years, and we do have some new trains running, but Heritage Railway is the place where you're going to find a lot of railway junk, to be frank, but the best bits get refurbished and renovated and so on. Have a feeling it's not worth doing anything with them. Take them apart for something.
And so, as promised, down to Shipley, and it wasn't the River Aire that we were due to stay on, it was the Leeds-Liverpool Canal. The circle round the Ibis Hotel where we stayed shows that it's right on the canal front. We walked along the towpath from Glover's Wharf to Shipley Wharf, and there are lots of old workshops and warehouses along here, and some of the buildings have actually been turned into accommodation, which would seem a great place to live. Anyway, it's time for an evening meal, so I turn on my Green and King app, and it tells me that we're right on top of the Noble Combe. The what? The Noble Combe? It's right next door to the Ibis, which is pretty handy, so that's where we're going for tea. Now, this is a railway station I've shown you before. It's Burnley-Manchester Road. On my trips to Burnley to look at my friend Steve's bungalow, I generally get off here and he picks me up from this station. When I've been loitering here waiting for my train back towards Preston, from time to time I've seen a train which quite surprised me because it says Headbolt Lane on the front. Well, Headbolt Lane is the new station at Kirby near Liverpool, and it's in the opposite direction to the way the train is going. So I'll be looking into the route of that train in the next edition of Travel Tuesday and travelling all the way around and going through Burnley, this station, and all the way on to the destination at Blackburn. So that will be next time.
That is a boat. This is Skipton, this is the canal, and we're looking for a bit of a trip to do on one of these boats. As you can tell, we're having wonderful British summer weather. Lucky that it's just stopped raining for a while, but anyway, we're going to have a look around Skipton because we're specking it out for a trip later in the year. probably September, October. So we're going to go and see what the hotels are like, places to eat, that sort of thing. Say hello to Skipton.
If you travel to Skipton by train, as you step out of the station, you'll see Heriot's Hotel opposite, named after the well-known Yorkshire vet from the TV series. And since I was last here, the restaurant has been renamed the Rhubarb Restaurant. We found the local Wetherspoons, so we know where we'll be able to have our breakfast and lunch if we come and stay here. And we found some accommodation that we can stay in almost opposite this pub. So finally in our whistle-stop tour, a walk round the cobbled streets with the houses of stone, and we'll head down towards where they do the boat trips. And that's basically where Skipton differs from Shipley, in that at Shipley you're just looking at the history and people's private narrowboats. Here you're looking at tourist trips on riverboats that will take you from half an hour to, I believe, 2 or 3 hours long. We'll be back in a month or two to have a more detailed look around this area. For now we've got to get back to the station and see if our train's been cancelled.
Promised you some planes, didn't I? Eventually, I found some. This is Liverpool. No, actually, I was going to say this is Liverpool Airport. It isn't. It's Speke Airport. When I was growing up, the airport for Liverpool was just known as Speke Airport, and it was this building here behind me. May well have had some of these types of planes running at the time because we're going back decades. But here we go. It's planes. Let's have a look around and see what's lying around at the back of the old airport, which is now a hotel. You can actually walk down the old runway to Speke Airport. Quite a few people have been doing that this afternoon. I've just had a bit of a walk along it. It's not as long as it used to be because they built factories in the way. And the new airport is further over behind those trees, if you can see them behind me. I might walk a little bit further. I've done a few miles already today, but I might walk a little bit further and see if I can get near the new runway.
Well, rather than walk along a long flat runway, I decided to go up into the trees that you saw before and see if I could get a bit of height and therefore some better views, get nearer the planes. Unfortunately, I only heard the planes going over, I couldn't see them anywhere. From up here you can see the old runway, and I'm walking parallel with it, just at a different height. And the difference is, from up here you can see we're quite close to the River Mersey. There are places all along this walkway where you can sit, have a rest and take this view. And by this time I was meeting quite a few people who were doing just that. I drop back down onto the old runway just where it ends, and there's a big high fence. Beyond that fence is the new Liverpool airport. John London Airport is butted straight up against this old airport site. And that's all I have for you for now. There'll be more Travel Tuesday next month. When I was in Bulgaria, I stayed in Ruse on the River Danube, and I walked along the riverfront and found a bar, well, a restaurant, that was called Terasa. You can see it here on the map. I took some photographs on my phone while I was eating there, and I was sending these back to my wife. What you can see here is the menu. You can see the view out across the river, and you can see the sun setting. And although phone pictures are not perfect, they give you an idea of what it was like sitting having my evening meal, watching the sunset over Romania. When I travelled to Burnley to look at Steve's bungalow, I changed trains at Preston, and very often I have up to an hour to wait. Last time I was here it was a normal two-way street with loads of traffic, but now it looks like this. It's a pedestrianised road with the occasional bus going past, and a Greggs where I could have my lunch. I like the way that they've used the block paving on the roads to mark out different sections where you can cross, and it was only a short walk from the railway station back to get my train to Burnley. Closer to home now, well, as close as you can get. This is Arrow Park, right in the centre of the Wirral where we live. From Arrow Park in the centre of the Wirral, I'd like you to whiz over to Wallasey with me, because that's where I've got a house that I rent out by the room. The expression is HMO, and it's 35 years since I bought that house. So over the next 12 months I'm going to be looking back over all the different things that I've used this house for, all the renovations I've done and all the different upgrades. But let's start off right at the beginning, when we were moving in. And back in those days, when I was a lot younger, of course, when we had lots of young friends who helped us move, it was probably one of the quickest moves I'd ever done in my life. Everything piled out of a hire van and into the house, and we were getting fish and chips before we knew it. Going out into the garden and letting our cats explore, and in the far left-hand corner at the back there was a tatty old greenhouse, and also an outside toilet was plumbed in there. Along the back of the garden there was a white fence, a tall one, and then over to the right, looking onto the neighbour's property, there was a low-level fence, and you could see down to the river by looking that way. Our cats seemed a bit scared of the new outdoors, so we went inside and I caught my first glimpse out the bay window upstairs and down to the River Mersey. Within the first 12 months I'd replaced the old greenhouse with a Wendy house, although we called it the cat house, and we'd hidden the white fence by putting up some conifers along the back. I also bought a shed which purposefully had no windows, and the reason for that will become apparent later. That shed has been there until 2024, August 2024 to be precise, but now it's time to say goodbye. The shed had already started to separate from the floor, which was starting to rot, so it was fairly easy to tip it over to help the demolition process. Bob started to remove the wooden panels one by one, but then thought of an easier way to do this, in that the roof was the strongest section, so we tip it upside down and remove the panels from the roof. As you can see, it's fairly easy to remove the side panels from the roof once it's upside down, and then the side panels themselves can be disassembled, ready for taking to the tip. Initially, the planks of wood are chucked onto the side path down the side of the house, and then eventually cut up into smaller pieces ready to be loaded into the car. The ferrets had found their way in and out of this shed over the years, and it became part of the run that we'd built for them in part of the garden. About a quarter of the garden to one side had been fenced off, so they had this run, and there were also 2 hutches at one time. So the second big carload of wood that's going to the tip is the fence that was taken down where their run was. This just leaves the ferret hutch itself to be taken apart, and this is a mixture of timber and wire netting. And that's it, now all traces of the ferrets have gone. We're only left with one rather large elephant in the room. It's a huge holly tree which overhangs our garden from the property behind.
So this is the corner of the garden that we focused on when we came here in 1989. This is the corner where there was the old greenhouse, and then just along here, this is where the outside toilet was. If you look closely, you can see where the brick courses were. And down there, you probably can't see, is a water pipe which used to feed the toilet. And one day when the water company were digging up the road, they turned that back on again. It was supposed to be completely shut off years ago, and I came back here, I think it was Handyman Bob came back here and the garden was flooded, and we couldn't figure out why at first, but the outside toilet supply was brought back on. And then of course the next stage, as you'll have seen on the video, was when we got rid of all that stuff, put a Wendy house there. That was 1990, but for the last, 10 years, there's been a ferret hutch. Actually, it's since 2016. I remember now when a French tenant moved in, she brought ferrets with her. She had a ferret hutch there. The whole time since 1990, there was the shed here. That's still the roof of it. We've kept that up to now because it's so well built and too heavy. We might do something with that. But the ferrets have gone, and Bob has completely removed any trace of the ferret cage, and the ferrets have gone back to France. So here we are with this whole corner cleared for the first time in 35 years, a complete blank canvas with a barbecue. And to celebrate the 35th anniversary of us being here, we're going to have a barbecue this evening. So fingers crossed for the weather.
Me taking a picture of Tony taking a picture of me.
Cheers.
So from the Wallasey house, looking out on the Mersey estuary, let's go round the corner to Morton, which looks out onto the Irish Sea. This is a large leisure area which is right on the shore, with a promenade walk all the way along through New Brighton and right round the edge of the Wirral. At this particular point, there's the Green Hut. You'll see lots of places where you can sit and eat and drink. The Green Hut is a well-renowned place in this area. It not only does breakfasts and other refreshments, it does some great fish and chips. You only need to go up a few steps to be on the seafront promenade, and from there you can see out to the offshore wind farms. The lifeguards have an obvious sense of humour here because they've put up a sign that says this is the Costa del Morton. It was certainly a nice day when we did this visit, and people were out there walking and cycling and flying their kites. If you want to drive into this area, there's a car park just below the lifeguard station, or a few hundred yards further along the seafront there's a car park by the Liso Lighthouse. And those are our bits and pieces from the wonderful Wirral.
Welcome back to the Burnley Bungalow. You know I like alliteration. I've come up with beautiful Burnley Bungalow Build. There you go, there's 4 B's together. How about that? And Steve is going to tell me a little bit about what's been done in the last month since we've been, and we'll talk through the pictures that you and I have both been collecting. The scaffolding's gone. How long's that been down?
Been gone 10 days now. 10 days it's been gone.
Right, and it makes so much difference. Everything looks great.
It looks more like a property house that's going to be lived in rather than a building site.
Yeah. And because last time I was up on the roof as they finished off the fiberglass, but now there's no way up there, I gather.
Apart from the glass vent roofs, we're not quite ready with the order just yet, but as you can see by the drone, it's now complete. One thing you need to look at is the roof tiles. They're called planum tiles, and I got the matching ridge tiles.
Yeah.
Which are very good quality, and you can see the vents along the ridge all the way along.
And you were just showing me what you're now calling the cellar. To me, for a long time, it looked like a swimming pool in the back of the garage, but that's a cellar, is it?
It's a cellar now. It's being made watertight. It's in the progress at the moment. So
what are the substances you've been putting down? Because you showed me the tins.
We've used a company which is locally based called Wycomel, or maybe Wicamel.
I think I've heard of them, yeah.
Yeah, it's on the Network 65 Industrial Estate. They make some very good products regarding tanking materials. This is what we're doing at the moment.
Right, so eventually you'll have some access to the cellar, which will be, is it below your office, that bit?
That'll be below the office, yeah.
Yeah, right, it's great. Well, I'm sure people can tell that we're sitting on the edge of the bath here. I don't know if I'll be able to get up again. This is quite low down, but that's the way you would have a bath. How far off completion is the bathroom now? Well,
the bathroom tiler had to go off for a few weeks, I was glad because I had too many constructors on site. He's coming back next week, so we should be finished within another 10 to 14 days, this bathroom.
Right.
The guy came the last 2 Sundays to do some complicated work where I'm sat. There's a lot of cutting that has been done, as you can probably see.
I'm going to try and get up now because oh, that's better. So the pieces at both ends.
The pieces at both ends, it took him quite a long time because that is one piece.
Right, so it's a kind of U-shaped piece and there's one at each end.
One at each end.
Normally you'd mitre those on the corners.
It had been normally mitered, but he had the patience to cut it out in one piece.
So he's taken one of these huge tiles and he's just cut out of there.
Exactly.
Wow. That must have taken some doing.
It did.
Yeah. Great. Well, I look forward to seeing more of this.
Yeah.
And next time, the weather's going to start hitting in a few months, so you're going to be wanting to get the place glazed and everything else.
Well, the building's actually watertight now. So,
right.
As you can see from the drone footage, all the roof slates are on now. So it's basically watertight.
Yeah.
So
great.
Which I can start a lot of work on the interior now. So I'm really pleased the progress at this moment in time. And
yeah, that's one aspect we haven't taken a lot of notice of as yet because it's very much a building site inside.
Exactly.
But that's still to come, and we don't worry about the weather, of course, for that bit.
Exactly.
So you've actually planned this very well, so that once the winter starts setting in, you can still be working in here.
Exactly. Yeah.